Let me make sure, as usual, I'm in the right place. I was totally going to write this out. I thought, oh, I'm just going to go live because it's a lot easier. And I'm hoping I am in the right place. It doesn't look like I am right now. Oh no, I am. Cool. Awesome. This has kind of come from having a conversation with a client this morning who didn't know my background. So she didn't know, and it's not that I haven't shared it, it's because you know that I do frequently share it, but she just hadn't heard it. And when I said to her, actually, like, I've been in the online world for 13 years, and 10 of those years I was running a really successful health business. My clinic was in Kensington, so I saw clients one-to-one. I also had the online aspect of the business. There was the radio show. I used to be the presenter for UK Health Radio at the same time. There was a podcast that was attached to it. So it was a really, successful business. But there was always like an inner calling that I had to do something else. Now, what I studied to be, and I did loads of qualifications. I did loads of different things, right? So I've got more qualifications in my health business than I left school with, right? So I've got loads, and each and every time you learn a new thing or a different level, or you upgrade, or like for you to go further in the health business, you've got to like do this course, but you've also got to do that course. So like you go through physiology, then you have to add pathology in, and like all this kind of stuff. So you get really like heavily educated, or I did, in the human body, which I love and I still love. And someone dropped me a message this morning. She's like, I hope you don't mind, but can you put your other hat back on? I just need to ask you a question. And I love that. And that's really cool. Hey, Casey. Hey, Dan. Hey, Tim. Hey, Sky. How are you all? But I had to, throughout that whole time, the one thing that you're never taught, you're kind of encouraged and your confidence is built to go and like get clients, like go and do your thing and find your skills and go and heal the world, right? Go and do your stuff, use the new things that you have been taught and the new skills that are going to create the therapist that you are going to become. However, the one thing they don't teach you is they don't teach you how to find customers. They don't teach you how to find clients. They don't teach you how to market yourself. They don't teach you how to build a business. And they definitely don't teach you anything about the online world. And it was one of the things that I felt was massively missed out of all of that. And I've seen so many different people and so many different brilliant minds and brilliant therapists kind of fall to the wayside because they just didn't have the skill set to build a business in that sense. They had all the other skill sets to be amazing therapists and look after people and help people with their issues. But they didn't have the skill set because we were never taught it. It was something you had to go out and learn completely separately about how to actually build that business. So it was kind of something that always whispered in the back of my mind, like, you need to you can help someone, because I come from a corporate background and I understood quite a lot about business, and I was learning quite a lot. Back then I was in an MLM as well. That's like 13, 14 years ago. So I had a lot of knowledge that I could pass on and help someone. But when you're building a business, you can only do so many things, right? And I was already running a clinic. I had online products. I had my radio show to deal with every week. I had the podcast to put out and interviews and all of that kind of stuff. So it was already a really busy time and space. And she said to me this morning, she's like, what? Like, I never knew this about you. That's amazing. So you've actually been around for a really freaking long time. And I'm like, yeah, I've been around a lot. Like, I've done loads and loads. I've probably done everything that you might think, not need to know. Like, there's a whole bundle of stuff that I've learned along my journey. I've built my own websites. I've probably played with every single piece of marketing software there ever is, like all kinds of different things. And she said, why did you stop? And I was like, well, I had a baby. That's why I stopped, right? I mean, you do when you have children, like you have to go and give birth. Like, it's, you know, you're going to sweat a little bit when you do that kind of stuff. And there's definitely like a calm period. And it gave me a sort of a sidestep to really sit and think about what I wanted to do. And when you have children, or when something dramatically changes in your life, stuff changes, you know, it does change. And for me, I knew that traveling into my clinic that had been well established in London was going to be like, I can't do that anymore. That's just not something I could do. Because it would be at least 2 hours to get there and back. That's without actually seeing the clients for hour sessions each time. So I knew that it was just going to be exhausting, and I'd be too far away from home, and I wouldn't, you know, I'd spend too much time away from home, and it just wasn't going to work. So I had a couple of choices, and my choices were, well, do I reset up a clinic, move the clinic and bring it to more local, you know, local to me? And unfortunately, what that means is it basically means that you set up a clinic from scratch, right? Because for me, the location was so far removed from each other. It would be a case of really going out and rebuilding a client base again. And anybody that works in, you know, that kind of business will understand what I mean. So I was already like, well, I'm kind of going to be building a business again, almost from scratch anyway. So how about I think a little bit differently, and how about I pivot and change and actually do something that's actually really fucking scary because it's so different, and just go with where my heart was calling me to go. So I sort of pondered on it for a little while, and I thought, you know what, I've got to make change anyway, so why not just fuck it, I've got this, like, I'm gonna do it and just go with it. Because for me, although it was a complete change, I'd gone from, you know, B2C business, it would be going through a B2B business, and I'd be in a much more coaching capacity and helping people with their visibility and their online business set up and their running and finding customers and clients and all that kind of stuff. But it was scary, like, it was super scary. It's something that had always called me to do, but it was like a total U-turn, like totally different, right? And actually, I mean, I'm 3.5 years like into that space, after I pivoted in 2016, at the beginning of that year. And quite honestly, it has been the most amazing thing that I've done. So yes, I did give up on like 10 years of blood, sweat, tears, training, money, like invested money, just a whole business. I just left it. But actually, the business I have now is way more successful than the one that I had then. And actually, it brings me a whole lot more joy and pleasure, and it fits around my life. And it literally just ticks all the boxes that it could have possibly ticked, in a really great way. And I'm hugely grateful that I decided to be like, fuck it, I'm just going to change direction and do what I feel like I'm being called to do. And certainly part of that, and I know that a lot of people have probably heard this, but just given that I was speaking to a client and she hadn't heard this about me, you know, my previous business was about, I was like super filtered, like I never swore, I kept a lot of my opinions to myself, which was actually really hard because I was in alternative health. So a lot of the mainstream medical advice out there to me is just like, yeah, it's not really how I do things. It's certainly not how I do things. But I wouldn't necessarily share those opinions online because I was, you know, showing up in the way that I thought I needed to show up to, you know, make my business as successful as it was. So one of the promises that I certainly made to myself was, well, like, what am I going to do with the pivot? Because I knew there was just something deep down inside, and it's like, you cannot do this from that space, from that filtered, that safety blanket space. You can't do that. If you're gonna switch, and you're gonna switch strong, and you're gonna switch real hard, and you need fast action, and you need fast results, because I needed money coming in. You know, there was my savings and stuff that I put to one side for me to have some maternity time. They had run out. And I needed to bring in some cash to start, you know, supporting my family. And one of the things I had made a solid promise to myself about was I had to do this filter free. Like I had to do it filter free. There was no way that I could rebuild and restart a completely new business from that energetic space where I was of just like, behave yourself, Sam, don't swear, you know, don't rock the boat, for God's sake, don't rock the boat, that's not gonna, no, you can't do that. Like I couldn't work from that space, and I was exhausted from that space. Like when you can't be yourself online, it massively affects you, your inner self, your confidence, your ability to show up every day, your ability to create products that actually are really aligned to you, your business and your clients. It affects all of that. And I knew that I had to like literally rip the fucking band-aid off and just go for it. And that's effectively what I did. And I know it was a massive shock for a lot of people that had followed me for a really long time. And ultimately, those were the people that I was gonna tap into, because they'd followed me for ages, and I knew that a lot of my following were peers. They were people that are of a similar standard and a similar position to myself. And a lot of them had reached out and said, like, how have you done it? Like, you've got thousands of followers, and like you're on the radio, and you've been in magazines, and you're in the newspaper this week, and last week you was on some podcast, and like they were asking me all the questions that I knew I could help them with. So the fact that I had to come out, and I came out like band-aid free, was a little bit of a shock to some people, and it massively polarized my business and polarized my audience. And certainly one of my very first products that I put out, I had this woman that had followed me for ages inside the group was like, I can't believe that you're swearing. I'm sure this wouldn't have been allowed in your show, and like blah blah blah. And like she massively, like she pushed the buttons, like she really pushed the buttons. And it was a huge test for me, because I was like, oh my God, like this is the one thing that I was really scared of. This is like the one thing that I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna piss someone off, like, I'm gonna lose followers, I'm gonna lose customers, you know, all those fears that run through your head when you desperately want to say what you want to say, but you know that it's going to offend someone, or you know that it's going to not fit with everybody else's ideas of how things are supposed to be, or whatever that looks like. So she really tested me, and ultimately, after some backwards and forwards, and what she wanted me to do was, this was a really low ticket offer, like a really low ticket offer, because I needed to get some cash in, and this was me like practicing and you know, all that kind of stuff. I have no idea if anyone's commenting because I can't see any. I'll do it later. And what she wanted me to do, she then took the conversation out of the group, and she took the conversation to the messenger, like my messenger. And she was like, look, I still want your knowledge, but can you transcribe this for me and take out all the swearing? I was like, no. Like this, I think it was like £149 group training, and I was teaching them how to do their own PR and get their own PR, because all my PR that I've ever done I've got free, and I've got for myself. So there was knowledge there that I could help other people with, because in any industry, but very specifically in the health industry, it does make a huge difference when you have some of the bigger names that you have appeared in the various magazines, and I had all of that. I was just like, are you for real? Like, she really wanted me to transcribe at my cost on a low, really super low ticket offer, at my cost, transcribe all my text, all my videos, because I was doing it live like I do here, and transcribe everything, take out all my swearing, and then send her the transcribed notes so she could take like and absorb the information. And I was just like, oh, hell no, that's not working. That's not fucking working. And my answer to that, and this was a real nerve-wracking thing for me, I was really like panicked about this, because given that, you know, I needed cash flow coming in, my answer to this was I refunded her and I removed her from the group, and I told her that I'm not going to do that, and she didn't like it, then she could leave. And I didn't even get a time to reply. I blocked her straight away. And that was my answer, and that's been my approach ever since. And honestly, it has served me well. Yes, I do get myself into little scuffles sometimes, because I am pretty outspoken, but that's just who I am, and I'm really comfortable and cool with that. But ultimately, for the most part, for like 99% of the time, like being band-aid free and just, you know, filter free and saying exactly what I feel and what I want to say, and all of those things has massively served me. So yes, and people say like, how can you leave such a huge career behind? How can you? 10 years is a really long time, and I never really look at it like that, but when you think about it, 10 years, it's a long time. And I'd worked so hard, and I did loads of training, and I invested lots and lots in different courses, and I've got qualifications coming out my arsehole about digestive health and the human body and all of that cool and fantastic stuff that I don't use anymore. Like, I don't use it anymore. But I would not change what I do now for the world. And as I said to the person that I was chatting to this morning, people think my passion is Instagram. And I get why you say these things, because I'm all over it, right? I'm all over Instagram, and I talk about it all the time, and it's where my biggest following is, and all of that really cool and crazy stuff, right? But Instagram isn't really my passion. It's my vehicle. It's my chosen vehicle at the moment. If you have followed me in my journey at any point, you will see that I've jumped from different platforms as and when I've needed to suit my business and to suit the people that I'm trying to reach. So I jump vehicles from time to time. I started on Twitter. That was my home. That was my place when I was running my health business, because it helped me and served me in my radio show position, because there's a lot of PR stuff there. And it was a really great source of connection for me getting people on my show and all of that kind of stuff. So it was amazing. And that was my home. And then when I pivot and I changed business and I switched, I jumped into Facebook a whole lot more. But I knew, and in the background, I knew that I had to master Instagram, because I knew that my clientele were going to be there. And that's kind of how it came around. But ultimately, my passion is actually about helping you guys stand out above, head and shoulders above everybody else. It's my vehicle to find and communicate and talk to people. And the reason I'm so passionate about Instagram is because I'm at that phase, and I understand that Instagram is in that growth, that massive growth phase. And I know, because I've been around so fucking long, I know that this is a really great time for people to grab it and really utilize it, because in a couple of years' time, it's going to be so big that it's going to be really hard for people to make a stab at that. Because the next best thing will come out, right? The next thing is going to be around, okay? So when sort of people reach out and go, I love your passion for Instagram, I love that, and that's great, and I genuinely am grateful, but it's not my ultimate passion. My ultimate passion is to help you guys stand out, be filter free, and do your thing from a place of absolute confidence, and know that the visibility and the consistency that you're going to bring to the online space is going to work for your business. Okay, that's really where my passion is. I made some choices at the beginning of this year that I will still be doing lots of Instagram things, but I want to step a lot more into helping you in that space, and helping you in the, you're terrified of saying what you mean online, because you're worried about what your friends and your family will think. You're worried that you're going to lose followers. You're worried that you're not going to sell anything. You're worried that the followers that you do have are going to be, and they're going to troll you. You're worried about so many different things that ultimately, actually, it doesn't really matter. They're not really going to serve you, because the people that are triggered by your behavior, or are triggered by the things that you share, or the way that you come across online, those aren't your ideal clients. And that's cool. That's actually a really cool thing, because it helps you to separate the people that you know you can share your time and your value and your knowledge with, versus those that you just don't want to spend any of your time with, because it's a waste. Okay, but it does take some amount of bravery and fuck it attitude, you know, to get you over to that point. But it's, you know, it's ultimately why I'm just launching Brand Yourself Bullshit Free. And the really other funny thing is, I never understood branding. Like, I never understood it. And the lady I was talking to yesterday, she's all about branding. And I said to her, I never understood it. I always thought it was around, like, you know, fonts and colors and logos and stuff like that. And actually, it is so not. It's not about that. And I do feel a little bit like weird that I've got a product coming out, like a group course coming out that has the word brand in it, because it still like bugs me out a little bit. But ultimately, your brand is you. It's the vibration. It's the person. It's the theme. It's your personality online. That's what, to me, that's what your brand is. And there's so many of you that are working from a space and portraying a brand that really is not true to yourself. And that's why you find things hard, right? That's why you find it so fucking hard. And when you break free from that, right? Cut the bullshit, break free from that space, everything starts to change and everything looks a little bit different and everything becomes a little bit easier because you're not second guessing yourself all the fucking time, right? But that's ultimately what we're going to be covering in Brand Yourself Bullshit Free. It's a 4-week group training with me. It's in the beta form. It's the first time I've done it, so it's a ridiculous investment, like stupid low. And I want to help, like I really want to help. I've looked at all the clients I've had for this year in total, and almost all of them have needed some help with kind of like ripping a band-aid off in their content in some way, whether that's someone that I work with solely on a visibility point of view, or whether that's one of my Instagram clients. Because if you're using Instagram and you're wondering why you don't have any freaking engagement, it's probably because you have a massive band-aid on and you're not showcasing who you are. You're not showcasing your brand, right? So ultimately, almost everybody that I end up working with, we cover this. We cover, you know, branding yourself in an authentic and zero bullshit way. We cover all of that because it oozes and it comes through in your content. So if your content isn't performing, if your services aren't selling, if you have zero traction on anything that you seem to put out, even though you are being fucking consistent and you are showing the fuck up, but it doesn't seem to be working, then Brand Yourself Bullshit Free is quite likely going to be the thing that's going to help you to break free from all that overwhelm and all that stuck feeling and all of that shit that is just not serving you in your business right now. So the doors are open. I'm going to pop the link below. Any questions on it? Because I know this is a little different from me, right? So any questions on it, do let me know. We're going to start on the 3rd of May. So there'll probably be a little bit of pre-work before that. But it really is about, like, if it's about time you just cut the shit and get on with it, then this is the thing. This is the one thing that you guys need to get involved with. It'll be a whole lot of fun, of course. I'm doing it. And I'm going to be throwing in a couple of months worth of Red Bull Socials content for you, which is the current membership that is closed. So nobody else can get access to this. You're going to get a couple of months worth of content for free as a founding member, which would be amazing. But any questions at all, drop me a message, let me know. I'd be interested to know as well, like replay viewers, tell me on the replay, did you know this about me? Did you, like, I'm wondering, do I not share this story enough? Do I need to do this a little bit more frequently? Did you know that I had all that experience? Did you know that I ran a really successful business for 10 years in a completely different niche? I'd love to know that. That would be really helpful. But yeah, so have an amazing week. See you later.